I think when you're so consumed about being angry online, I think a lot of us forget to like be kind when we check out at the cash register. I'm upset about X. And then you immediately say, well, what about A, B, C, D, E, and F?
Knowledge and opinion on current events isn't just your current events knowledge. It is now a part of who you are. And then we place people in a box. And then that determines whether we like them as human beings or not.
Welcome back and happy Tuesday, turkeys. How long have we known each other?
We've known each other for 2 decades.
I am not apologizing for who I am or what I like or the people that I love.
How do I be a wife? How do I be a mom? And how do I be myself in all of that? You didn't see that coming, did you?
Good morning, welcome back, and happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Good morning, Kimmy.
Well, this is not technically an impromptu episode, but I have been percolating on thoughts that I keep quizzing my random coworkers about, and I thought it would be fun to record ourselves having this conversation. Plus, I'm just nosy, and I like discussions in general, so full disclosure to the audience, Kayla doesn't really have any idea what I'm doing, but I told her it was fine. Oh, okay, so we're setting the scene. This has just come up a bunch recently for me too. And I am constantly in this pull between wanting to be informed of what's going on in the world and feeling as though I am giving myself compassion fatigue by being informed of what's going on in the world. So I guess my foundational question is just sort of this idea of what are you doing? Are you intentional about managing your news intake? Have you found anything to be helpful or unhelpful? And how do you kind of navigate the whole concept of wanting to be an informed citizen but not being overly informed? Because obviously there's a new tragedy. You can find a new tragedy every single day, be it on the news or be it on social media, and it's exhausting, but I don't want to not care. So these are kind of the two opposing forces I've been, I don't know, thinking about.
Yeah. And we've talked about this, like being able to hold to, I wouldn't maybe call this opposing thoughts, but it's like you can care about all the things, but you can't be all consumed in all the things because then your life energy is going to dwindle and that's not sustainable. For me, I stopped watching the news probably quite a long time ago. And so like my parents would say, well, how do you stay informed? Well, freaking social media, depending on who you follow and how often you check it, it's like that's a lot of this information that is out there. Granted, everything has its own perspective and viewpoint. I would argue the same thing with the news, though, depending on which news channel you're watching, to a certain degree. So anyway, I stopped watching news, which was helpful. But then social media is like a love-hate relationship because I do love to stay informed, and I can't say I'm doing a good job of this right now, but I do have to limit my social media intake. Like I set a timer, like no social media, like it stops at 1 hour, which 1 hour is still a lot of time. I'll say I'm guilty of when something really big happens, I'm like all consumed, like checking because I want updates and blah, blah, blah. And I want to know things like throughout the time we've had social media where social media is used for that. Remember when social media was just used for like posting your food and posting your friends? And it wasn't educational, and it wasn't to make money, and it wasn't to politicize everything. So anyway, my point being is I still need to work on it, but social media is, I mean, it's addicting. Like literally how they set it up is addicting. So I battle that sometimes. But when I can feel myself just getting like overwhelmed because there is so much tragedy in the world, I can't, as one person, take that all in and carry it all, even though it's all sad. So I just have to stop myself and then like go meditate or like go for a walk or listen to some upbeat music or like do something that can kind of take me back into like a parasympathetic mode instead of being at a heightened state, because I realize when I'm scrolling, I don't realize how up here I can get until
Yeah.
I get off and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling stressed and I didn't even realize.
Mm-hmm. I think, okay, so here are some of my just general questions that I ponder to myself,
Mm-hmm.
which first of all, why do I feel the need to be informed? And what purpose is it truly serving to know what's happening much beyond where I live? Maybe that sounds sort of egocentric of me, but I don't really know that I can affect a change, certainly at a global level, it's just like, why? I'm data gathering and I'm not quite sure what the data is being used for other than my own stress.
I agree with that. I mean, I would say that other people, or maybe even other generations, would say, well, in order for you to vote correctly or participate in society, quote unquote, the way that you should or how you believe, you need to be informed, because if you're not informed, then how are you going to know like what to believe in or what to, you know what I'm saying? But then I think about like the people that don't have social media and they don't have a lot of TVs, or they're out in the country and they're living peacefully and happy because they're not bombarded with all the tragedy I can't say that word today. Tragedy every day. And what a weight lifted off their shoulders.
I know.
But then I also
the
don't like to not
voting
be
thing feels weird because I don't think that me consuming day-to-day tragedies is giving me any different perspective or insight on who I should vote for.
It's a hard one because I like to know what's going on, because I'm a default FOMO person, but I understand that it can affect me negatively if it's too much, and the limit for too much hits pretty fast. You know what I mean?
The other thing I'm finding interesting is that if I get sucked into all of these empathic responses for things and people that are completely outside of my orbit, then it is taking up it's taking up space for my total bandwidth for compassion, which is already severely stunted because I do it for a living.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was realizing, so maybe the calibration for folks and what they can take in is different for everyone, which I think is true. I mean, we all have differing levels of tolerance for things as well. But if you made it of a 100 scale or 100 points of how much, let's just say, compassion units I have on any given day, I feel like at least, depending on the day, 50 to 75% of that can get eaten up just during my 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And then do I really need to be taking away further from the actual physical people in my life by giving some of that space up to international or national tragedy that I can't affect any change upon?
If you were to like be able to pick a filter on the stuff that was available to you, would you opt to see like local stuff and maybe dwindle down the bigger stuff?
Even local things, I'm like, I don't even know what I can do about this. I mean, everybody's really riled up right now about our city imposing a higher property tax.
Mm-hmm.
And with a lot of I don't know if deforestation is the right word, but there's been a ton of construction here, and Florida's always been very, hands off with business.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep seeing all of these local town hall meetings where you have environmental experts saying that they're going to fuck up the water table if they don't at least leave like an easement of natural land for drainage purposes, because especially here on the coast, lots of stuff is sand. And anyway, it causes, when you can't, from what I was listening to, if you don't have some of these natural barriers and easements when you're doing massive construction projects, you're messing with the ability of the land to sort of retain water. And so in turn, when it rains, we're having a lot more flooding because things are the water flow is different.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
They're filling in a lot of our swampland. to build houses on and stuff like that, which just further, it just messes up the local ecosystem. Well, so you have someone explaining this, then I start to get bothered. But then the city council still does whatever they want. I'm like, I don't know. It's sort of disheartening sometimes. And I end up with a lot of ennui toward the political system at large, because I don't even feel like I can affect any change in my local politics in the city that I live in. So any sort of change in the larger national landscape seems insurmountable.
I get that perspective. And I don't know if I entirely would back this statement up, but just plain devil's advocate, I can see people saying, though, well, like, especially at a local level, if you're not informed, like, what if they try to come in and do something crazy, then y'all could rally a protest and rally change. And if it's big enough, then you could stop things. So I get that perspective too. I'm not the one that's usually saying that, but
I don't feel like people protesting does anything around here for that.
Yeah.
I swear to God, they had all these people at one of these town halls and they were like, cool. I mean,
cool. I thought you were saying the protesters were shouting, cool.
No, they were just like, cool. It's cool. We're still going to do whatever the fuck we want. Like, do you know what I mean? I feel, I still vote. I sometimes feel like it's useless. It's something I still do, but I sort of will tune in a little bit more around the times that needs to happen. And I'll make note of, okay, so like I'm pissed off about what's going on right now enough to know that I am going to probably not vote to keep anyone in office who's currently in office.
Do you know what I
But
feel
I don't
like?
think I need that much information to be able to make those decisions either. And I certainly don't need to be reading people's internet status updates about it and reading about people arguing in the comments. But if I allow myself, I'll get sucked right up in there.
For sure. And that's the problem. So like for me, I feel like this, whether it's just this time in our culture, whether it's, I don't know what it is, but I feel like if you're not informed, I feel like when you have conversations with other adults or even older adults, people almost like to like quiz you on current events or whatever's going on in the news. And if you don't have an opinion or if you don't know, then it's like you're looked down upon, which is a little frustrating. So I almost feel like I have to be informed so that I can have I don't even want to say stance because there's not really one stance entirely. But regardless, the atmosphere right now, like so much of your knowledge and opinion on current events isn't just your current events knowledge. It is now a part of who you are. And then we place people in a box. And then that determines whether we like them as human beings or not. And that's where I'm like, well, this has gone quite too far. Like, it's not just conversations. It's not just, this is what I'm voting for and why at those times. And I don't even feel like I need to share that information. It's like, this is who you are now, and you will be judged for it.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I definitely feel that. I literally this week had somebody start quizzing me. Not quizzing, but he was trying to feel out my opinions about what's going on in Florida with the they're trying to get rid of vaccine mandates, I think. Again, it's just stuff that I can't, I don't know, you sort of just hear about it even without intention. And he was trying to get me riled up about it with him. And I guess people just want to kind of have an ally in their opinions, but I always joke with people. I always feel as though nobody is ever happy with the response that I give them because I have a hard time saying anything super concrete because I don't know enough about a situation to do that. And I'm always willing to sort of engage in a bigger conversation where I might need to change my mind. I also think that this is what I was saying to him, and then he didn't know what to do with me. But I basically was saying that I feel as though every problem has a two-pronged approach, and each half of the political spectrum only likes one of their prongs. And then I don't know what to do with that, because you need both. You need law and order, and you need compassion and opportunity. And I don't understand. We all just want to be on one of the railroad tracks, and you need them both. So that's why I don't even like having some of those conversations anyway. But I was just thinking about this, and all of the people that I know that get really, really distressed and then stressed out, and just all of the vitriol and the back and forth that goes on in comments in places. And what I think what my takeaway is, that I wish for everybody, is that they could use their social media to look at videos of dogs and cats and nature, and that they would, if people would spend one-for-one time engaging in a real life one-to-one act of kindness that they spend trying to influence somebody toward an opinion, or vent about an opinion online, or view content about a situation that they don't have any control over, like, how much better of a world would we live in? But we're all sitting here trying to inform, this other person of our point of view, or what they're missing in their point of view, in these counterpoint conversations that people are having all day. And I can't help but think it literally is just distracting people from making the world better. And also, if you help someone that's in need, or you give directly to something in your local community, you also get the benefit of receiving gratification from doing that. It doesn't, I don't think that's a selfish thing. I think the symbiotic relationship of that is a positive feedback loop that helps you feel better because you're helping somebody. I think that's probably innately built into us, because we need to function in a society and within a community as human beings. So I think that's supposed to be part of that feedback loop, and you don't get that online. It's just anger. And then I think you just have a lot of people that get really elevated and then anxious and depressed, and it wouldn't be happening if they were out in their local communities volunteering.
Well, and I agree with that. And even if you were not even volunteering, but just having a conversation, like when people are on social media, and again, I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of this, but like, even if I don't post things, like I'm consuming things. When you're in that and you're here and you're like, oh my God, I'm in it, and this is crazy, and this is the world in my phone, and it's all falling apart. And then you go out and have a conversation, say, I didn't know you, and we started talking, and you say something that I maybe slightly disagree with, and immediately I'm like, you are part of the problem. You are here, and the world is falling apart because you have this one opinion. Where if you took out social media and you took out being too all consumed, if I was just out and about, minding my own business a little bit, content with my own life and my world, like, and then we had a conversation, and I was like, oh, I don't think I agree with that, but can you explain, and maybe we can have a conversation about it, and maybe you can teach me something, or maybe I can share my perspective. And even at the end of the day, if we disagree, you're a human being, and it was nice to meet you. I'm like, whatever, it's, and I hate the word trigger, but because everyone's so all consumed, when you take it outside into the real world, it just kind of snaps you back into like the emotional stuff. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think of my call to action to myself and to other people is, if there's a subject that you feel passionate about, find something that you can do at a micro level to give to that cause that's not social media. Do you know what I mean? Like, find some, if you really care about animals, foster a cat. Like, if you really are upset about factory farming and you can afford it, go buy meat from a local vendor. Do you know what I mean? Find something that you can do that's actionable, so that you can feel as though you are helping something without just screaming into the void, because it's exhausting. And I think a lot of us are inadvertently giving ourselves compassion fatigue. And then I think it's also causing a lot of us to have this problem where somebody says, I'm upset about X. And you immediately say, well, what about A, B, C, D, and F? Mm-hmm. How come you don't care about that too? And it's like, well, you can't care about everything all the time. And then you can't expect everybody to care about everything all the time. And I think that the world works because each of us sort of have a focus on something that we find important. And, it's like I rescue a dog. Well, why didn't you adopt a kid? I'm like, that's not the same fucking conversation. And I think a lot of us get sucked into that line of thinking, mm-hmm. which is really just the same as saying that I'm having a hard day. If I'm like, oh, I'm tired, you being like, well, you aren't as tired as me because you aren't pregnant. Mm-hmm. It's like that doesn't build a bridge and that doesn't create a connection, and that's not helpful for anybody. Yeah. And I wish that I could just find a way for all of us to, again, find something local that you can do where you can be engaging with people in something that you care about. If you care about the environment, go do a beach cleanup. Like, go do a thing in the context of something that you care about that creates a positive outcome for someone else. And mm-hmm. maybe that would alleviate some of the strain. And also, I think we would all just be better people. I think when you're so consumed about being angry online, I think a lot of us forget to be kind when we check out at the cash register, or forget to hold the door open for somebody. And we're so angry all the time that we're acting like road rage turds in traffic, mm-hmm. and getting irritated with the old lady in line in front of us for talking slow. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't think we realize that we're making real life worse. And maybe we could be more intentional about investing, again, even if I don't think it should be a one-to-one investment, but even just as a start, if we were one-to-one investing on something tangible in real life at a micro level, with how much time we're spending trying to argue or affect change or consume information online about a national tragedy or an international tragedy, maybe we would all feel better and the world would be better.
I just told my toddler this morning, are you going to have a good day? And he was just in the mood to say no to everything. And I was like, okay, well, we can change your mindset around that, because if you, and I was just talking to talk, even though whatever. It's like, you can choose to have a good day. This is your choice. So mm-hmm. Can you say, yes, let's have a good day? He's like, yeah. And then it just got me thinking, as adults, we have the same choice. We have the choice to have a good day and not let something spiral. Yes, you could see something on the news in the morning. Yes, you could get a flat tire in the morning, but don't let it spiral. And I think that's where we are. We're just in our little own echo chamber spiraling. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't have time to volunteer, maybe just limit the social media. Maybe try to just do a gratitude journal. Maybe just listen to a funny podcast or some fun music mm-hmm. that could get you in a better mood before you enter the world. Because I feel like even that is a small step that could lead us all into a better life, a better world.
And right. And I think that's where I was going with the whole, you can be present and be mindful and be kind to somebody when you're in public. And that is even a big deal. Even that, I think, makes the world a better place than posting about something that happened somewhere else that you don't have control over. Mm-hmm. And maybe recognizing the importance of that instead. So I don't know. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Anyway, I just wanted to have a little chitty chatteroo about it because it keeps being a thing that I'm thinking about. And I think you hit the nail on the head that we should stop over personalizing our opinions and our beliefs, because they should be changing. They should not be glommed into our actual personality. And we shouldn't use those to assign value to other people. And if we could just not make our identity our opinions, and we could make our identity the things that we do and the way that we treat people when we interact with them, maybe we could all just calm down.
Beautifully said.
Maybe
yes.
Nicer at the grocery store. Okay. And then maybe I would be nicer when my husband asks me where his socks are, because I'm not already up to my eyeballs in frustration. Until next week. I love you. Bye.
Bye.